Yes, we have the morning latte going. Doing a little vanilla latte. Anyway, welcome to the Varied Life. I'm Steve, the retired hobby tech guy who is an expat here in Korea. Yeah, that's a lot to go over. We're just waking up here in Korea, and it's well, I've been up for a little while, but it's about 8:20 at the time of this video, and it's 26th of January. And from what we've seen, did Bambu Labs just dethrone themselves as the 3D printing king? We're going to take a deeper look at that, and I promise you, I will wake up as we go on because this has gotten up my nose. So we'll start off a little slow. Start off with a little double shot energizer there, and we're going to talk about this firmware upgrade and this locking out by Bambu Labs. This has been really interesting because Bambu Labs has been basically the 3D printing. They're like the Apple of the 3D printing world, and where they're making it so user friendly that you can put something in a machine, hours or minutes later, whatever it is that you're printing, it comes out and it doesn't require a lot of labor and angst and frustration. The learning curve has gone down extremely low because the way they have streamlined their system. With that being said, Bambu Labs took their slicer, and basically what we're talking about in slicing is, let's say this guy here. Where we printed out a Hulk, and this is resin printing, but basically when you have a slicer, what you end up doing is it slices this like you would a loaf of bread. And the slices for this is extremely small. Now in resin 3D printing, you can get down to 50 microns. When we're talking about not resin printing, but FDM printing, we're talking about zero point 0.4 millimeters and zero point 0.2 maybe at the smallest. But you can get some fantastic results with 3D printing so that you can just download files, print to your heart's content, and it will just be pretty much amazing on all of the things that you can do with a 3D printer. Bambu Labs, when they got into this, they did a Kickstarter program for their machine. So they got, and I remember this, it was just incredible. It was like, wow, that is amazing on all the stuff that you could do and how they streamlined everything. But it should be noted that they took an open source slicer program and then took that and then did their bells and whistles and tweaks and all this stuff and changed it. So their birth into the 3D printing world relied heavily upon open source information. And then yeah, we're seeing they're the traitor of the 3D printing world because now they're locking down their systems and riding on the backs of others who created the open source codes. And it's just now we come full circle where it's like, yeah, we want to provide good printing for everyone. We want to do this and that and all the bells and whistles. And out of the box in 10 minutes you can be printing. And they've done that with great and superior results. Minimal downtime. It's just incredible. But now they felt the power. They felt the money. It's like Tom Cruise and that money. With what's his face and show me the money. Now they're locking down their system, and I get it. Bambu wants to funnel everybody into their ecosystem. You buy their machine, they want you to use their slicer, they want you to buy their materials, they want you to everything is going to be in that realm, I guess you could say. It's almost like it's a church. When you go to a church, you kind of commit yourself to that church and to that community and to the way that they do things. And if you talk about inviting other churches to your church, yeah, pastors start getting really freaky and really weird, and they don't want you to visit other churches because that will take away an income stream from that church. I could probably have done another thing, but example, but you kind of get the point. It's like, if you start saying, hey, well, we should work with each other, if you have two churches on the same block, those churches won't work with each other. I mean, 99 out of 100 times, because if this church is better than this church, then the people will leave. And we don't want that. So we want to maintain an income stream. And I think that's what the Church of Bambu Labs has done, is that they've created this community, they've created this cult. And I don't use cult in the manner that it's, a dangerous religious cult. It's just a gathering of people, the basic definition. So we have this Bambu Labs cult, and they've been improving, and they've been funneling people into their ecosystem and into their way of doing things for machines, materials, prints, slicing program, which they stole. Not really stole, but they used open source, and then they made their own off of yeah. But now it's getting to the point of where it's like, we don't want anybody to play in our playground. So we're going to make it so we're going to basically lock down so you can't use third-party software like different types of slicers, which is very problematic. And even to the point of where it's like, now we're going to require you to get authorization for your machine to print. You need to do a firmware upgrade. And the newer machines will automatically come with this, so you won't even have a choice. So if you have a machine now from Bambu, you get that firmware upgrade. It's not like, I tried it, I don't like it, I'm going to go back to the previous version. That's not how any of this works, not with Bambu. Once you go there, you can't go back. When we do resin printing, and I do this guy here, and let's say, the old Deadpool guy here, if I do resin printing on my Saturn III Ultra, and Elegoo doesn't care where I get my files from. Elegoo doesn't care where I get my materials from, my resin, so on and so forth, or whatever. But Bambu is locking up their system as saying, under the guise of security, for your safety and your security, which is very problematic, in my opinion, after being in the military for a career and then a number of years in law enforcement and things like that. Whenever I hear the phrase, it's for your safety and security, that just raises red flags. And in this case, it is actually true, because the things that Bambu Labs is claiming is like, oh, we're so concerned about you that we're concerned about your safety and security, and there's all these terrible things that are happening because you don't have authorization. Once we implement this firmware authorization where your machine, through their app and their little thing, will get authorization from their cloud service, and then it'll go back down, and then it'll send it to your printer, and then you can print. And that will alleviate the hordes of, the wandering orcs and hackers that are abound, in endless numbers on the interwebs to hack into your system. And it's like, I don't really think that's a thing. And the fact that you claim it's for security, and yet now you want me to get onto the interweb with my machine, that I have to go through a third-party software, a middleman, and then it has to go to your cloud, and then the cloud talks to that, and then it talks to my machine, or it goes from the cloud to the machine. You're adding more avenues of approach or possible means in which hackers could get into my system. And I think hackers just kind of get into their system, and they're not really, it's not what it really seems. So we're going to take a look at all this stuff. This is actually kind of crazy. Let's take a look here on some stuff. Let me close that out, and we'll move this around. This is Bambu Labs, their firmware update, introducing new authorization control system. Yay, launching first for the X series, the P and the A are planned with future release. And what they've ended up saying is actually the new machines, you will not even have a choice. You don't have to. You buy a new machine with the new firmware, you don't have a choice anymore. You have to use their cloud system. So this is really interesting. Updated and updated. Oh, and by the way, isn't it funny that Bambu Labs has removed themselves from like the Wayback Machine or any historical archiving websites so that you can't check on them? They haven't done them all, but some other YouTubers have checked out and said, see, yeah, you did say this, you changed this, under the guise of saying, oh, no, we never said that. They're gaslighting. And why would you not want to have an archive? Why are you trying to hide all this stuff? If you're trying to hide the things that you're doing, that's a giant red flag. So, anyway, they're talking about this as authentication and authorization as a significant security enhancement to ensure only authorized access and operations are permitted. I don't know about you, but I have never had any problems, and to my knowledge, I don't know of anybody that has had their system, their 3D printer hacked. You know, whether, and I'm talking about Bambu Labs, I'm talking about Anycubic, I'm talking about all the FDM printers. Hell, let's just throw in the resin printers as well. I've never heard of anybody saying, "Oh, the world in the interwebs is fraught with so many hackers that as soon as I plugged in my machine, that hackers just started attacking me and I couldn't print and blah 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 blah." Never, never heard that. Never. And I looked, I searched, and over the last couple of days for my last video, I ended up going over and looking and saying, well, what are these security flaws that they are so concerned with to my security and safety? I don't see anything. You go on the Reddit forums and all that stuff, and it's just not there. This change is mitigating any risk of remote hacks and printer exposure issues that have happened in the past, and also lower the risk of abnormal traffic or attacks. I sense this is a straw man argument. This is a classic logical fallacy. And for the people that are younger than me, God bless you, but you probably don't know anything about arguing and logic and debate and things like that, and the different ways in which you can win a debate. And one of these things is called a straw man argument. So a straw man argument is where I propose and say, well, this is what happens, is what is happening right now. And it's terrible, it's bad, whatever it is. It could be the opposing view of somebody else and say, oh, this is so terrible and bad, blah, 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 blah. But then I come and I knock that down with my information saying, see, I'm going to mitigate and lower the risks of remote hacks and people getting into your machine and abnormal traffic or attacks. And it's just like, well, I'm not seeing this at all. But that's the whole thing of a straw man argument is you set up a straw man, kind of like a scarecrow, and then boom, you knock it down, and then people, oh, well, Bambu must be concerned about my safety and security. Oh, the savior of Bambu Labs, I am now safe because they don't want me hacked. Good job, Bambu Labs. Yeah, that's BS. So anyway, that's the whole start, is when they put this out there. First of all, they don't offer any proof of users being hacked. Printer exposures, abnormal traffic and attacks, by mitigating, who can get into their printers. And we'll get a little bit more onto that. So anyway, they're going to do their X series, like their X1C and X1E and all that stuff. And then they're going to do their other ones, like the A's, A1 and A1 Mini, and then their P and P1, P1S or whatever. And it will introduce authorization controls that require official authorization for critical printer operations. The problem is, in today's world, we don't read the small print, and I will bet you a paycheck that the majority of people that are 3D printing, everyday normal people, we're not talking the 3D printing geeks that keep abreast of all this and have no life outside of 3D printing, but the normal people, the normies out there, they don't keep abreast of this stuff. And so when they see, and a thing pops up on their screen and says firmware upgrade, what does everybody do? Click, okay, no problem, bam. And now they don't realize what they've done. And to require authorization for critical printer operations, I don't know, like printing, like slicing, using third-party software, monitoring your prints, things like that, what information. Furthermore, unauthorized third-party software will be prohibited from executing critical operations. So let's say you've been using Orca Slicer, or you've been using some other slicer that you like and love for whatever reason, and now, boom, you're out of luck. You're not going to be able to do that. And I understand this point from a business or commercial aspect. I've worked in commercial industry and working for the state of Colorado and things like that. So I understand they want to funnel everybody to make as much money as possible. Okay, that's capitalism. That's the way it is. I understand that, even though they're a Chinese company, it's what they want to do, and I get that. They don't want to share their piece of the pie. But the problem now is that they are claiming it's for safety and security because of all these hackers that are accessing your 3D printer from Bambu Labs, that they want to alleviate that and do this firmware upgrade. But in actuality, it is putting your system at greater risk because it's putting more steps and processes in between that hackers could actually get into, the hackers that nobody knows about or has actually experienced this. They're going to work with integration teams. And now the critical operations that require authorization. So you might be wondering about that, binding and unbinding a printer. Some people might not know what this means. If you have a 3D printer or a resin printer, then your software that you use on your computer needs to reach out and touch and find that printer, and they connect together and it's being bound. So that way you can send files wirelessly, or you could send them over, wired connections and things and so forth. And if you can't do that, then you can't send prints to the printer. So if you can't bind or unbind, yeah, that's kind of a huge thing. That's what binding is. But yeah, if you don't get that authorization, where before it wasn't a problem, it's your computer talking to your printer, and it bind and unbind and no problem with multiple machines. But now, we're not gonna. What are the implications of this? What are I understand that it's like, well, maybe they only want to do their machines. Well, what if you have multiple printers? What if you have an Anycubic? What if you have, Prusa? What if you have, this or that or some other 3D printer within your space, and you use and well, now you can't, because you can only use our machines, the Bambu Lab machines. I think what they're trying to do is they're going to edge everybody out to make it so it ends up being the church of Bambu Labs and no one else can enter. In initiating remote video access, that has been a huge thing for people. Not that it's really needed. I would say it's not really a big thing, but if you're making time-lapse videos, or maybe you start a print in the morning and you go out, and then you could check on your phone and say, okay, well, it's still printing, or you got an alarm, my print didn't come out, I can stop the print. No, you can't do that anymore. That's kind of critical for some people. Performing firmware upgrades. They're making this a requirement that has to be authorized. Okay, but we don't need this firmware upgrade to take away these critical operations that I was able to do before, and now that you don't want me able to do. Initiating a print job via LAN or cloud mode. So even if it's LAN or the cloud mode, where my computer goes up to their cloud, and then I get that authorization from their little thing there, and it shoots it back down, says, yes, you're approved, and it goes, and then from the cloud to the machine, and then it prints. You can't even initiate a print job via the LAN, local area network, or the cloud mode. That's a very critical operation. Look at this, controlling motion systems, temperatures, fans, AMS settings, calibrations, etc. Again, they're under the guise of saying this is for your safety and security that we're doing this, because there's hordes of hackers out there just messing with 3D printer control systems and the temperatures and the fans, and they're going to mess with your calibrations and ruin. I haven't heard anybody that has ever been hacked, and I've been around. Even though I haven't been 3D printing for some time, I've been around in the world of electronics. I was an electronics technician for over 11 years in the state of Colorado, so I did fiber optics, I did stun fences, I did remote cameras and PTZ systems, with fiber optic and digital multi-bay storage facilities with redundant RAID, this and that, and all of that stuff. I would install and do all that. I'm kind of, I just don't see this. And the reason I didn't get into 3D printing before is because it was more of you do more work tweaking your printer than actually printing things. And the other reason is I was broke, so I didn't have time to do that or the money. Operations that don't require authorization. Yay! Let's find out. Sending status information from the printer. Your print is done. Or starting a print job using SD cards. So we can still use SD card to print things, but there's a lot of other things that you can't do. Remember the binding and the unbinding? It doesn't really make sense, because if you can't bind or unbind your machine and you refuse to do this upgrade, if your machine isn't bound and it's not found by the program, you can't. You can have problems using an SD card. Now there are some standalone machines in which you can use cards, but yeah, it's kind of like if you can't bind, and so in other words, you can't do anything unless you're using their system. Again, they're funneling everything into their ecosystem. General operations outside the listed operational controls. So basically, yeah, everything that's important to get a print, yeah, not everything that's not important to get a print to your computer doesn't require authorization, which is like, yeah, what's the big deal? Upgrading the firmware. The users who decide to use older firmware version can use the previous or new versions of Bambu Studio or Bambu Handy without restrictions. The problem is that's going to go away. It's like they're throwing you a bone saying, see, if you want to do the old stuff, you old fogies out there, kind of like me, you don't have to upgrade. You could still have access to everything the way the old folks used to do in the day. But the problem is that's going to go away, because every single new machine that is going to be sold by Bambu Labs, you're not going to have that option. And like I said, if you do the firmware upgrade, you can't go back. It's not like I'm going to try it and see if I like it. No, I don't like it. I'm going to go back. I'll just reload, the old firmware. No, you can't do that. That's why I like resin printing. Elegoo, my Saturn III Ultra, and even slicing programs, they'll come out with new updates, and it's like, and you just some quirk or tweak or thing that you don't like. You can always go back and download the previous firmware version, reload that, and be happy until the cows come home. If you upgrade your printer to the latest authorization controlled firmware, again for your safety and security, you must also update the Bambu Studio and Handy simultaneously. Failure to do so may result in certain printer controls becoming unusable. But like I said, this old firmware option is going to go away through attrition, because every new machine from here on out, and Bambu Labs is going to be offering a bunch of new machines this year, supposedly. One that I wanted to get, which was the H2D, and waiting for that, I was going to order the A1. And the day I was going to order the A1, I found out this information by watching a YouTube video from Ross, whatever his name was. Network plugin for third-party slicer. Slicing tools like Orca Slicer, based on Open Source Studio, will no longer be able to utilize Studio's network plugin API for authorization control. For these users, Bambu Connect clients will act as a replacement. This software removes slicing function. This new software removes slicing functions while enabling remote control and print initiation. So in other words, yeah, we're kicking you out of our sandbox, and this is the church of Bambu Labs, and we're it. We are the chosen ones, and no one else, we're not going to share. Client software, partners, blah, 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 information Orca Slicer. You can continue to use your X Series 3D printer with the older firmware version, which does not include the authorization features. If you choose to upgrade, you must download and install the Bambu Connect printer control software. Remember, we'll get into this a little bit, but they're putting themselves as a middleman, and they're doing the Bambu Connect, and they're instead of going from your computer to the printer, now it's got to go from your computer to their Connect, to their cloud, get the authorization, and then to your machine. Under the guise of safety and security, because there's so many hackers. Well, you just put a couple extra places and things, and it sounds like, in my opinion, that they're having the problems on their end, on their servers, and with all these attacks, because it just doesn't make sense because we don't see this on the user side, but we see when we go back up to the top, talking about all these attacks and hackers and this and unauthorized or multiple pings on their systems is with their servers. And in case you don't know, with a server, when things go up to the cloud and there's so many requests, time is money, storage is money as well. And so when you get multiple requests from third-party sources, you're basically giving a service away and you're not getting paid for it. So on the business side of things, this kind of makes sense, but they're framing it in the way of saying you are so fraught with hackers and you're at such a high risk that now we're going to put this into play. That's not the truth. It's their systems. It's on their end. My end is good. I don't have to worry about hackers and this and that. I have, oh Lord, I don't know, firewalls and this and that and routers and I don't have to worry about that stuff. The safety and security, that guise of saying you're unsafe, is absolutely not true, because before it never was a problem for the users because we didn't see Reddits and we didn't see videos and we never see blog posts or anything, forums of where people are just overfraught with being hacked and mitigated their risk levels to just, I just can't do anything, I can't print because of all these hackers and this unauthorized access. Not a one. I couldn't find any. And so that tells me that they're doing this for opposite reasons. Again, the straw man argument. Future implications. All future Bambu Lab models will integrate authorization control technology as a standard to ensure the highest levels of user security and printer protection moving forward. Remember the user security? The one that is non-existent, if there were so many hacks and all these printers being compromised and systems being compromised, wouldn't you think we would see this online? Wouldn't you think we would see this from all the big, hobby and technical blog posts that we have out there? Yeah, we don't. We never did, and there's a reason for that, because it's not a huge risk. We acknowledge that these changes might introduce additional effort and workload. However, through our joint efforts and cooperation, we believe we can improve security, quality, and user experience, blah, blah, blah. That's not true. It is absolutely not true. Why is this change needed? Overall security of your printer. No, it's not. No, it's not. Ensuring all interactions with hardware, such as moving axes, heating components, other critical actions are verified and secure, we can minimize the risks and prevent potentially dangerous situations. There was never any dangerous situations to begin with. It's not like there was, it's not like there was hackers were going through and making people's printer beds go up and down, or their heats, just spilling out filament all over and wasting it as they slept, or overheating their chambers and starting fires and burning down houses and whatever, causing busloads of none to crash on the highway. It's just none of those things have ever happened. And yet they're trying to pull the wool over your eyes and saying, yes, it's all, heating components. Oh my gosh, other critical actions. I don't see any. Additionally, over the year, we've detected an increase in the number of requests made to our cloud services through unofficial channels. Now, here's where they're actually telling the truth. They have seen an increase in the number of requests on their cloud service through unofficial channels. That has nothing to do with my machine. That has to do with the lack of security on their half, on their cloud services, on their servers, and so on and so forth. These incidents have included significant abnormal traffic patterns. Again, not my problem. My machine is safe. And I find it really disingenuous that you're saying that, all of this is so terrible for you, the user. But now they actually are telling you the truth here by having significant abnormal traffic patterns. You need to fix that on your end. And here's the thing is that by adding, this firmware upgrade, and now you have this Bambu handy connect thing going on, and now you need to get authorization. And so you're putting a couple middlemen within this route of information that is open to the interwebs. Now you've actually put different portals or different avenues of which hackers can actually have more opportunity to hack into the system of Bambu and your machine. Not that that was a problem before, but that is what they're saying. In some cases, DDoS attacks have impacted service availability. Again, I have never had, and I've never seen anybody complain about DDoS attacks on their 3D printer, whether it's from Bambu Labs or any 3D printer, resin, FDM, or whatnot. Our monitoring systems have detected up to 30 million unauthorized requests per day, creating unnecessary strain on our infrastructure. This is their systems, up to 30 million a day, and creating strain on their infrastructure. It's not you and your machine and your LAN and your internet. You don't get unauthorized requests. That's on the server side. That's on their side, which may be absolutely true. And if that is true, you should fix that. But don't punish me and my machine and what I could do with my machine by now changing the firmware, and now I can't use the machine in the way it was originally advertised because I bought the item and you just changed the service and doing a firmware upgrade. That's bullshit. That just doesn't. Why does it need to be enabled in LAN mode as well? Ooh. See the funneling? They want you to rely on the cult of Bambu Labs and no other. It's printer's LAN mode is a working mode we defined, and the printer does not connect to the cloud service. Yeah, that's why a lot of people like it, is because it leaves out a middleman and other possibilities of hackers to hack into a system, because you have this, all in between me and my printer. When you remove all the middlemen, you actually lessen the risk of being hacked. I don't know. What are the odds? However, note that even the printers in LAN mode, a network environment in which the printer is located, may still be connected to the public network, and other malicious software may still be able to remotely access the printer. Again, this is another straw man argument, because they are proposing that there are hordes of hackers out there that are just willy-nilly going crazy and wild, getting in all types of printers and people's networks, and, just Joe, Johnny, and Jane Q public using their 3D printer to print out a shelf or maybe some figures or, some little things that they're selling at a flea market at best, or they got a print farm and they're selling some stuff. I haven't heard anybody from any business that does 3D printing professionally as their sole purpose. We're talking about not the 2, 3, or 4 machines. We're talking about print farms that have 10, 20, 30, and more printers, that their sole job, that they're making 6 and 7 figures a year by doing 3D printing. You never, ever hear of this being a problem. So again, it's disingenuous. In addition, other network devices and software in the local area may not be secure, such as Trojan horse software, backdoor software, which may run on computers or handheld devices, and may also run in embedded devices. Again, they're making this straw man argument of saying there's all these things, but the problem is we never heard of it before. There's no record of the mass hackers going through, and really. The hackers you can still possibly get into a computer, even in the LAN mode in a network environment. So you think that some hacker is going to have a hard-on because I'm printing a figure. And he's going to go to the trouble, or she is going to go to the trouble of hacking into my little system that has login, password, firewall, router, all of this stuff, on my little home network, and that was put in and whatever, and that they're going to spend so much time and effort to look at the thing that I printed and disrupt my service and hack my machine and Trojan horse and whatever. I haven't heard of one instance of that happening. Not one. I've been around computers back when you had, the 8086 and kind of like the old computers that had the 5-inch floppy drives where you had one drive for the computer program and then another 5 1/4 for the memory because it didn't even have any memory. The computers that had like the monitor that was massive and the text was in green and the background was black. Yeah, that Multimate, look that up. Yeah, that's how old I am. In the above two cases, the printer may still be attacked from the outside or even remotely. Well, you could dance, how many thousands of angels can you put on the head of a pin or a whale or whatever? Yes, it's possible, but realistically, it's not happened the way they're claiming. 3D printers have complex moving parts and heating elements that pose high risk if unauthorized people with ill intentions gain access to them. Where has this happened? When has an orphanage with a 3D printer burned down because some malicious hacker decided I'm going to heat that heating bed up until it blows, burns and kills everybody? But it's like, well, wait a second. My machine has got a safety device where it'll shut off if it gets too hot. Are you telling me, Bambu, that you're taking those things out of the machines and that's why we need this software? Really? Is that what you're saying? So you're trying to, if that's what you're saying, then you're not paying for safety items on the machine because it's less expensive to do this whole cloud thing. Yeah, I call bullshit on that. This means I won't be able to use Orca Slicer. Again, we talked about this. They'll be able to do some stuff. Our team is actively working on submitting integration code for Bambu. Once submitted, it will be up to Orca to decide when and if to incorporate it into the slicer enhancing. So basically what they're doing is they're going to say, hey, Orca, you got to jump through some bells and whistles and hoops and all of these things and agree to probably, some access to their cloud and their system and their servers and their software, maybe with information that Orca says, no, we don't want this information going from us or our users, the people that use our slicing program, to go up to your cloud for you to gather that information to sell it or whatever you do with it. I think they're just going to make it, they're saying yes, but it's going to get to the point of where Orcas and others are going to say, yeah, no. Unless, maybe they're greedy and they're like, they don't really care about security. And they're like, hey, we're going to back the winning horse, even though the winning horse is loaded with straw man arguments and they're spouting a bunch of BS. Orca Slicer, read approve, whatever, using Home Assistant control. Will this still work? Updating latest firmware with enhanced security controls, full control of printers via Home Assistant will no longer be possible. Even though Home Assistant and all those other things do have their own security things and systems and preventions put into place, while Home Assistant will still be able to access some printer information, certain functionalities will be limited. That's pretty generic. You have a 3D printer, it's working, it's not working, and everything else is out the window. Can't start it, can't stop it, whatever. It's important to note that the update is not intended to restrict third-party software use. Not intended, but it sure is when you read everything. We're actively collaborating with third-party print farm management software providers in the past and continue to support such partnerships. To further improve the user experience, we're introducing new software that will address these limitations and enhance overall print farm management capabilities. For those people who don't know, this is political, correct speech, politically correct business speech in saying that we are going to create a print farm software and we're going to kick everybody else out of our sandbox because we don't want to play with anybody else. So yeah, it doesn't matter if you use what other software that you use. If you have a Bambu Labs machine, this is just me in my opinion, I'm thinking they're going to say, well, we have now our Print Lab software, so that's how you're going to manage all your machines. But if you have a machine that is not a Bambu Lab, yeah, you're not going to be able to play with us. So you need to make a choice. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there have gotten to the place of where they started out with like Prusa and their Mark III and Mark IVs, or they've done some other printers and some Enders, and things like that. And then they started buying the Bambu machines and they started getting, this is a great machine, which it absolutely is, like the P1S, P1P, the X1C. And so now they have 5 or 6. So now they have more Bambu machines than other machines. And now they're going to come to a point of where this management software is going to be released. And they're going to have to make a decision and say, well, hey, you can't have these other machines because they're too much of a security risk. It's writing on the wall, folks. What they're saying for your safety and security, they're going to apply that straw man argument to all these other print software companies that are out there and other machines and say, well, safety and security. It's all about safety and security, and these other companies don't care about your safety and security. So we can't allow them to come into our ecosystem because of the security risk that you are going to be facing, and we care. That's total BS. What happens if I never upgrade? Problem is, the majority of people don't read the small print, won't read this blog. I've had people contact me just over my few videos that I've done, and I know the big YouTubers out there, they've had tons and tons and thousands, hundreds of thousands of views. People are saying, hey, I never knew this was even a thing, but it's spreading like wildfire. You may continue using the old software version that does not include the new security updates. However, this means that printers may miss out on important security fixes or bug patches included in the newer versions. We highly encourage updating the latest firmware, well, of course, why wouldn't they, for the best experience and enhanced security. Enhanced security, that's bullshit. The thing here is that it's not good. And here's the thing. You can do security fixes, you can do patches that will, with the new bells and whistles that you can have on your machine that they do through firmware upgrades, and it doesn't have to, that could be totally separate than this cloud authorization bullshit that they're throwing at you. So why can't they do that? Other companies do that. Other companies, hey, here's where, this was crashing. We did this improvement, that improvement. We got a greater, enhanced capabilities of this and that and slicing faster or whatever it is, better, accident detection on this. So you can upgrade that firmware, but that's totally separate from the security side of the house, of which we don't have any security risk that we've seen. The security risk is all in Bambu in their cloud, and now they're adding in the Connect and the Handy and this and that and the authorization, and so now it's actually opening up your machine to greater potential security risks than what they're actually saying. So yeah, absolutely crazy. If we go over here and we talk to this Ross Mann group, and he is kind of like a right to repair type of guy. He was doing all like the Apple stuff, and real big channel on him. It ends up that he did this page here, and it was his video that I actually saw the day I was going to buy the Bambu A1, waiting for the new HD2. And I saw that video and I'm just like, holy crap. I'm 58. There's a lot of us old people that don't watch YouTube. They would have never have known. They have never known that the new machines that are coming out, you just have, you can get this, this, and this, and then they get it home, and then they find out, hey, I have to rely on their firmware and authorization thing, and that's not what I wanted. Yeah, they don't tell you that. They won't tell you that. So anyway, if you read this here, you can see the link up there, wiki.rossmangroup.com/wiki/Bambu Lab Authorization Control System with underscores in between the words. So yeah, it's just absolutely crazy on what we end up seeing here. Uh, and here is right over here, and we'll take a look at this. This is what Bambu actually said. It will automatically search and download new update packages to provide you with timely update services. These updates are designed to resolve cybersecurity loopholes, prevent new threats. Again, the threats, the non-existent threats that you were experiencing before. Remember, all the threats and the unauthorized pinging or on their, the 30 million, pings that they get a day. That's on their side of the house. That's not on you or your printer. That's on their cloud services, and that's what costs money. Due to the importance of these updates, your product may block new print jobs before the update is installed and will immediately provide update notifications to help you understand the related information. So they're saying that eventually, let's say you buy a new machine and you're like, it says update, but you don't want to be involved in this little cult of Bambu Lab Church, you have no choice. Otherwise, it's not going to print. But here's the thing: the Bambu actually came out and they said, what did they end up doing? They came out and they addressed some of the concerns and the unfounded allegations and the false allegations. And it's like, no, they're basically gaslighting. People say, no, we never sent that. And specifically, terms of service states that printers may block new print jobs if updates are not supplied, which some users interpret as potentially pathway to forced obsolescence, which it is, because on the old machines, you're good to go, but you won't get any of the firmware upgrades for the capabilities of the machine because they tied it to the safety and security patch of the firmware upgrade that requires you to actually open up your system to more hackers. While defenders of Bambu Lab pointing out offline modes such as SD card and LAN-only setups would remain functional, others point out the terms of service do not explicitly limit this restriction to cloud-based printing. This ambiguity led to the speculation that Bambu Lab could force broader limitations, rendering printers inoperable if users don't want to update. And again, it's planned obsolescence. That's what it is. So yeah, this is just absolutely crazy. And if you read through this, turning your machine into a brick, we went over that, in that it just ends up being a brick. The remote hacks were cited as an example to be the result of 3D printer vendor not responsible for responding properly to reported security vulnerabilities of their product. Therefore, in order to get attention, the researcher decided to infect machines and display a harmless message to spread quickly. But here, the hack, anybody can hack anything. And so what I think what happened is that maybe they got somebody, well, hack into this and see if you can put in a message, say hi or whatever, and that will prove that there's vulnerabilities in our system and we want to protect. It'll be, again, a proof of knocking down that straw man argument. Issues with LAN mode, it talks about that, privacy concerns. And this isn't even talking about the people that are dealing with clients, people that are doing side gigs or full-time jobs with 3D printers that are dealing with classified information or information that just normal people don't want China or anybody else to have access to. There's nothing wrong with that. It reminds me of corrupt cops. It's like, well, let me search your car, and if you don't have anything to hide, you shouldn't have to, claim to, I don't consent to search and seizures. If you were innocent, you wouldn't be saying that. That's almost what we're hearing from Bambu Labs, is saying, hey, well, there's all these security things. Oh, you don't want safety and security and all that. Yeah, it's getting closely like that. Then it says critics have likened this to functionality of other industries like HP printers firmware updates that rendered third-party ink cartridges unusable, and Tesla's software locks on secondhand vehicles, which we've seen. These parallels suggest a broader trend of manufacturers using software to control hardware capabilities post-purchase. And I would even throw in Apple, due to the planned obsolescence, of where they were actually found guilty of their older iPhones and older equipment and degrading the battery life and so on and so forth through firmware upgrades, to the point that it would drive people to buy the new phones. because Apple hasn't really come out with anything new and exciting except for new pastel colors and in the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years. Um, and I have Apple. I on my Mac, and I love Apple, but they just haven't really done anything. But that's beside the point. Yeah, it's just going to get to the point of where this is all going to be bad, and really, what is happening here is that Bambu Labs is basically dethroning themselves from the 3D printer world by alienating themselves by putting up a straw man argument of saying, hey, all of these hacks and hackers and the risks that you have to your system are so incredibly high. And even though we have zero examples of this on any blog, video, Reddit, whatever, even on the old, AOL forum type things, we don't see any of that being a problem. And when they say that we've got 30 million unauthorized hits on our cloud, that's on them. That's not on you. It's not on me and my machine and my system. But this is a power grab. And this is to where I liken it akin to, do I say this or not? Should I? I don't know. I already threw in the church analogy. I might as well. People won't like me. But when there is a coup in a country, and if you look at like Mao and Stalin and Russia and Cuba and all of those places that were taken over, Pol Pot, and a leader taking over and wanting to have absolute control, it's the people no longer have a voice or a choice. And what we see is when that happens, when there's absolute control, it often is to the detriment of the people. In the same way that we saw with the, Tesla, and with the HP printers and, Apple, I would even throw Apple in there, that it ends up that it's going to be bad. And the people are going to pay the price because now you're locked into a system. And what I see in my crystal ball, if I had a crystal ball, my magic latte that we have that I'm looking into, where is this going to lead? I think this is going to lead that so many people are going to get mad that they're going to go, excuse me, to other machines. And myself and a number of others have decided we're going to vote for our wallet. And besides voicing our opinion on social media and so on and so forth, we're going to vote for our wallet and not buy their products, regardless of how well that they produced the prints that they can do and how fast and the quality and all of that stuff, all the great things that Bambu machines have done. I'm not dissing on that because they have done an awesome, incredible job. But the problem is when you're trying to grab absolute control and going against and lying and saying, oh, we're doing this for you, but really you're not, and trying to gaslight people and then cover your tracks by, taking yourself out of, archive things showing that you did indeed say those things and saying unfounded accusations. No, it's you said it and we just read it and now you're, yeah. But it's going to get to a point. Here's what I see. Bambu Labs is going to funnel everything into their own ecosystem. So if you use their machines, you have to give them authorization, which means the next step is you can only use our products. You can only use our FDM, our filament. You can only, we have this awesome, great, Bambu Labs. We have all these files, and it's like, well, wait a second now. You get authorization to print this file that you bought, and it's like, oh, I want to print that out, but it's not on the Bambu Labs ecosystem in one of their prints, which they make money off of. They have the full right to say, nah, I'm not going to print it. That's too much of a risk because the code for that file is a risk to your safety and security. So we're not going to let you print that. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. And then I think the next step after that, because you can only sell so many machines. If I sell a machine to do A, B, C, and D, and then there's X amount of money that can be had, that's a one-time payment. But what have we seen? Unfortunately, the thing that I hate is subscription services where you don't own anything, but you just pay every single year. That has become a thing. That is the next step for Bambu Labs. So you're going to have and say, oh, well, to increase and keep this security and to keep funding, to keep these mad horde of orc hackers that are, banging at the gates of, your fortress, we're going to have a subscription fee where you can ensure that safety and security. Then I will see a subscription fee for, if you're a hobbyist and you have maybe 1, 2, or 3 machines, you pay this per month. If you have, between 4 and 10 machines, you'll be a subscription service to manage those printers in your print farm. And if it's larger, it'll be a larger, of course, another subscription fee. And then it's just going to be feed to death. And you're going to get to a point where you're not going to be able to print what you want to print. Ooh, that looks like a gun, or the title doesn't have a special, RFID tag that, or some code within the thing that you're trying to print doesn't have that special code from our, because we're so worried about your safety and security. If it doesn't have this special code authorizing that this is authorized print, yeah, you can't print that. And so, and you don't want to upgrade? They don't care about it. They threw that out like a bone. Well, yeah, if you got an old machine, you don't have to upgrade. You don't have to worry about that, Grandpa. It's planned obsolescence is what it is, because they're planning on making a killing on when it comes to the new machines. And then, of course, eventually it's going to be subscription services and paying and pay to play. That's what it comes down to. All under the guise of saying that, it's because of safety and security, which is a total lie. Because where's the proof? The proof that they gave you of the 30 million per day hits on their servers is on their servers. That's their fault, not your fault. But they're saying, the hits on us could somehow translate over to the hits on you. No, possible. How many elephants can you balance on the head of a pin? Theoretically, you could say, yes, you could X amount of elephants. Yes, X amount of possibilities of you being hacked. But again, the possibilities of that are zero in reality for the average person. I mean, you got a better chance of getting hit by lightning multiple times and winning the $1 billion Powerball lottery than what they're trying to say in regards to your safety and security. Thermal runaway, your house is going to burn down. Your machine Z-axis is going to go up and down. The print bed is going to go up and down without you knowing. The world is going to die. The sky is falling. Come on. Seriously? Really? That's what we're looking at? It's interesting because I think after this became a big thing, of course, then the real nerdy hacker people, tweaking guys, not the bad hackers, but the hackers that are, do good in the name of good, the Batman hacking community, that what they ended up doing is they're able to get the keys, and so they're trying to do workarounds with that. But eventually, so it's doing the exact opposite of what Bambu wants. But the thing is that the majority of people are not going to go through the steps that these hackers, the good hackers, find, so that you can operate the machine that you bought for a purpose has now changed. And that's the other thing that bothers me in this point in time where we're at now. If you accept the firmware upgrade, you can't go back. And it's just, very, very problematic. Very problematic. Open system support, and this has led to, here's another good one. Let's take a look at this. On this continued thing, impact on professional users and print farms. Restrictions imposed by new authorization system create significant operational challenges. No longer use custom automation systems to manage multiple printers. Again, they will have the answer for that because it'll be a subscription service. Workflows built around third-party software will be redesigned. Required to manually export and import files through Bambu connect creates additional labor. Again, if you're talking about you got 30 machines, could you imagine taking an SD card and going to 30 machines, load it, scroll through it, print, go to the next machine, do the thing, and yeah, that's time is money. Integration with existing business systems and workflows becomes more difficult or impossible. Professional users with more than 20 printers report the new workflow as an absolute nightmare. The solution to the above is not to sign the printer into the cloud. Keeping the printer signed in would be security oversight in this use case on the part of the print farm. So again, you're opening yourself up, and who has the greater possibility, the greater percentage of being hacked? Is it somebody like me, just a retired hobby expat guy living in Korea, printing out some cool stuff and, maybe selling a couple things here and there? No. Compared to a business, a print farm that has 20 or more printers, that is actively engaged, and that's their sole purpose in life, that they're making 6-7 figures a year, they have a greater chance of getting hacked because I'm printing stuff that I find on the interwebs. Most of it is free because I'm cheap. I'm a cheap bastard. Whereas these 3D printing farms have their own custom files and their own products that are patented and so on and so forth. So if a hacker really wants to say, do I want to hack this guy that is pulling free models off of Colts 3D, or am I going to go after a guy that has a special thing that he makes that he's making a ton of money, and if I can get that and I get that model, I can sell it and I can make money, who am I going to hack? It's going to be the business guy in the print farm. Oh man, and then there's the whole thing of data collection and privacy. What are they going to do? All printer operations must now pass through the Bambu cloud infrastructure using their cloud node. And again, this is kind of funny because they claim it's for safety and security, but now they're putting a middleman, and then now you have to use their cloud. So now your people that can hack into Bambu servers and cloud, which obviously that's a big problem because they get 30 million hits a day, you're going to be opened up to that now because you're connected to that. I don't know. Common sense. User print data, including file names, print settings, becomes visible to Bambu Cloud when the cloud is used. Do you think this might be a problem for businesses who have print farms that have custom files and materials and parts that they make, or customers that have custom items that they want printed out that they don't want anybody else to have access to? Confidentiality, out the door. Camera feeds and operational data are processed through Bambu servers while on a different network. Users have limited visibility of how their data is being collected, stored, and used in the cloud. Is it being sold? Probably. The system creates dependence upon the cloud services available for basic printer functionality, which in the past wasn't a thing. You didn't need to do that. And it says here, while Bambu Lab maintains that cloud processing is necessary for security and functionality, bullshit. Community members argue this represents unnecessary data collection that can be handled locally. The company's cloud infrastructure costs are significant, leading to some users speculate the future monetization of cloud services may be planned. I'm not the only one. Therefore, people should assess if their use case mandates the use of cloud services and disable it when it doesn't. Shift from local control to cloud-dependent operation is part of a broader trend in consumer devices where manufacturers use security concerns to justify increased data collection, which can be sold, and reduce customer control over devices they bought and paid for. Privacy-conscious users should operate their printers in LAN-only mode to avoid cloud connectivity. And then it goes through, and a lot of people are just furious, and that there is no justification for this. It's just absolutely crazy. Privacy concerns, print data, file names, print settings, camera feeds now got to go through the cloud. So far, no changes have been made or indicated to those not using the cloud service. But again, this is a temporary, that's going to go away. This is planned obsolescence for the people that have the old machines, that if they don't upgrade, yeah, you can still do and do your things, and you might have to do, resort to taking a card and going to each and every single machine that you have. But yeah, it's planned obsolescence, and they don't care about that because that's going to be a small speed bump on the road to more money in their Bambu Labs Church of the Unholy, where you got to pay your tithe. You got to anything you put. Oh, you belong to the Church of the Bamboo Lab. Here's your subscription fee. Oh, you want to use our machine? Yeah, here's a subscription fee, and you got to pay, and you got to pay to play, and we don't play with anybody else because they're the unholy and the unclean. Yeah. Forest updates. And the great thing I like about this is all of these references here. So yeah, absolutely crazy. Um, some other people have been asking me. I did a previous video where people are asking, well, what type of machine am I looking at getting? And again, with my electronics background, I'm not saying I'm all that in a bag of chips, but I know more than the average person. I've installed lands. I've done everything from the ground up, like drilling holes in the wall, cutting out holes, putting in receptacles, running Cat 5, Cat 5e. Actually, back in the day, it was Cat 3. But, and higher. I've done fiber optics. I've put in systems. I've put in lands. I put in secure video storage systems with redundant storage, and with the multiple bays and hard drives where if you pull one out then it rewrites on all the others. And I've done it to the point of where it was so secure because these video feeds were used in courtroom cases. So yeah, it was high security. And with that, none of those systems need to go up to a cloud. Matter of fact, they cannot be in a cloud because that increases the risk of being hacked. So when Bambu Labs says, oh, well, hey, it's because of security that we're going to put in a cloud that you need authorization, that is a total absolute lie. Because if you were really concerned, you wouldn't be saying that. So they're doing this for nefarious reasons and they're blaming you. They're trying to gaslight you of saying why this is a thing. So when I worked for the state of Colorado as an electronics technician, we dealt with video capture systems, PTZs, and cameras that could zoom in and read the fine print on a pen. And we could record and we could submit those video recordings that had a special timestamp and authorization, that not an authorization, but prove that hasn't been tampered with. And that would go before a court of law and withstand any type of scrutiny because it was removed from any possibility of being hacked. In other words, we didn't connect up to a server, we didn't go to a cloud, we didn't by some other third party. It was all in-house. So when Bambu says, hey, we're safety security, and so we're going to implement Handy, we're going to implement the cloud and this and authorizations and things going back and forth and ping. No. I worked on security systems with cameras and digital storage to where you had to have login and passwords and other login and passwords. You had like administration passwords, and they had user access for those systems that they could only do certain things. You could view the video, you could search for video, but you couldn't edit, you couldn't download, you couldn't, there were certain things that you could and couldn't do. But as an administrator to and of those systems, that I would be the one that would be required to download and take that video footage and turn it over to investigators that would be used in a court of law. And yeah, chain of custody, the whole 9 yards. So yeah, very, very problematic. But people are wondering, what kind, as I did in my other video, what type of systems am I looking at? And we'll just go over another one of these. Let's take a look. One of the machines I'm looking at is the QD4 Plus, which has a build area of 305 by 305 by 280, which is pretty nice. And the great thing about this is that it's only like $800 as the time of this video. Great little machine, bigger build area than the Bambu X1C, which is 256 cubed. And we don't have any of that bullshit that we have with Bambu with safety and security. And it's got some great things on there. It is a really good machine, and there's a lot of reviews on YouTube that show that this is a good machine. And for the price, it is pretty nice. And so I'm seriously considering that. The build area is 305 by 280, so that's bigger than Bambu Labs. So that's a bonus right there. Smarter system, again, it's Clipper version, which is good, open source. So that is something to check out. The other one that I was looking at recently was the Prusa Core 1. It's kind of expensive. You're looking at $1,200 for the assembled version, $950 for the kit. I'm old enough to where I don't want to do a kit anymore. But their build area is 250 by 220 by 270. So maybe a little bigger than the Bambu X1C. But the good thing about Prusa is that they're, when they upgrade, you can buy upgrade kits to take the thing that you currently have to make it better. And Prusas are just workhorses. So I've talked about doing that. That's $1,200. The other one that I took a look at is a Creality K2 Plus, which I had some problems with, but this is like $1,500. But when you look at this one has a 350 by 350 by 350, so 350 cubed. That is a huge build area. I mean, it's not huge, but it's a hell of a lot bigger than a 256 cube by Bambu. Stepper motor systems, actively heated chambers, so you could do all types of, high exotic, filaments, AI systems, sturdy frames and all that stuff. Basically a multiple material system. And it is, when you look at all the bells and whistles on this, it is pretty amazing. Cameras, flow rate, sensors, the whole 9 yards, auto leveling, which is incredible. First layers are great. Seamless, smarter software for seamless workflow. Yeah, they have their own thing, but I have found out that you can use Orca Slicer with that. User-friendly, household use, that's what everybody wants. Purifier, built-in RFID tag reader for their filament. And before you freak out, say, oh, they have RFID. It's just for their multi-material system. So in other words, when you buy their material and you put it into the material system that they have for multiple prints or multiple colors or multiple types of materials, it'll read it and it'll automatically update the information in your printer. So in other words, it's removing a step of saying, hey, well, I bought some TPU and I put that in the thing. Now I have to go to the software. Okay, well, this bay on my material system, I need to change this, and this. With the RFID tag, they put that information in there so it's automatically updated. I'm not worried about that. That's kind of a user-friendly, it's a good thing if I buy their material. Am I forced to buy their filament? Absolutely not. Not at this time. And hopefully it stays that way. But yeah, great, printing speed of less than 600 millimeters per second, which really probably you do about 300, maybe 350 at the most to get some real good stuff. But yeah, they got their own slicing software, but you can use, Orca Slicer, but that's another one that I'm looking at. And some frequently asked questions when we look on there. Temperature, open source, uses Clipper-based Creality OS, which is open source rules, which is good. Closed loop motor server, auto leveling, which is good. Heated bed, active heating, all of that, 16 colors. I'm not really into that, but maybe I will. Does K2 Plus support LAN and internet file transfer network system? You can control or transfer files to the machine via cloud service after connecting to their Creation Cloud. Also supports Creation Cloud to connect, view cameras, operate the machine, click on local file to start printing. Binding the machine can use the app, so there's that. K2 Plus temporarily cannot use the Creative Cloud function. Our cloud slicing is replacing the multi-color new engine. The old slicer engine K2 Plus cannot be used. Is expected to be complete the switch before December, which is already passed. The K2 Plus will support Wi-Fi connection and network cable connection network. So through HTTP and WebSocket, cloud services, you could do that. Wi-Fi specifications 2.4 or 5 gigahertz. But yeah, you will be able to use this. And again, there's not a horde of hacking orcs out there that are trying to get into your system, and the protocols that they have for LAN or even your home Wi-Fi going from your machine, or in this case the K2 Plus, your computer back and forth, that's all secure. Login, password, make the password 500 characters if you're really concerned about security. It's a thing. So that looks like a really good system as well. But with the cost of that being basically, what was that, 1,500? That's not bad. And again, the K2 Plus, you can use Orca Slicer. This is from MakerWorld101.com, optimizing third-party slicing software. So if you want to zoom in, click that, you can take a look at that. The other one that I mentioned was, or that I said that I didn't want to mention, was the Prusa XL. And originally when the Prusa XL came out, there was a lot of problems with it. There was people, hey, it doesn't work, it's having problems, blah, blah, blah. Recently, though, I've been going through and researching and watching videos like Aurora Tech Channel and other people that have used, and through the firmware upgrades that are not funneling and locking people into their Church of the Bambu Lab like ecosystem, the XL does seem to be a pretty good alternative, especially considering the build volume, which is, what is it, 350? What is it? Yeah, build area, 360 by 360. But we're looking at a price with just one extruder or print head semi-assembled with no enclosure. You're looking at $2,000. If we put in the enclosure, that's an additional $520, and that seems to be a good system. If I want to do dual head, that's an additional $500. Do 5 heads, that's another $1,500. But just as this is here for a large, you're going to pay $2,000. So, you've got a wide variety of machines. There's other machines out there, but looking over this and the things that you can do with this machine, especially now that it's become a more viable option, granted it's a more expensive option if you want to do multi-material. But the other thing I like about this is you can do different types of spool sizes. Loads up to 5 2-kilogram spools, and let the printer produce a huge 10-kilogram model without a single user intervention. So yeah, Prusa is really good. I think more and more people, I mean, look at that. That is just monster. Beautifully quiet. And again, you could buy their own enclosure for $520, but you could do your own. There's always that, and you could try to go cheap, but their system is easy to use. It just, the upgrade, again, there's power loss recovery, which is incredible, firmware versions to make sure that everything works right. And again, they're about 100% privacy. We do not collect information about your print or your printer surroundings. We believe that no matter whether you're developing a new generation space shuttle or just printing silly things for your friends, no organization should be interested in this information. This is why our printers can be found in top companies, universities, and research institutions around the world. Our printers are primarily designed for completely offline operation with no drawbacks or limitations. You have the option to share data with our tech support and connect your printer to Prusa Connect remote print management system, but only if you choose to do so. Our code is open source, so you can always check that we aren't cheating or stealing your files, even when you're connected to the internet. And yeah, it's just more and more I'm liking Prusa, aside from the fact that it's expensive, and that's their enclosure, which looks wild. That is just crazy wild. I mean, that's just kind of you could build your own. You could just throw some panels on there and a couple of swinging doors, and you could be good to go. That wouldn't be a problem. So, yeah, I might like the open doors better. So anyway, that's what we got going on. Checking out all these different systems and, of course, different prices. It'll be interesting to see what pops up in regards to all of this. So, yeah, I'm very hesitant about Bambu Labs. I cannot recommend Bambu Labs. I love their machines and what they've done in the past, but with this, authorization under the guise that you must, and it's for your safety and security. We've obviously seen it's not for your safety. It's not for my security. It's about the Church of the Bambu Labs and the cult of the Church of the Bambu Labs. We don't want to share with anybody. We're going to take your information. Try looking up and see where does Bambu sell your information? We saw Prusa says no, and you can even, we're open source so that you can check and make sure that we're not doing that. Does Bambu say that? No. Matter of fact, they've lied and saying that your machine and your computer, that is all secure. That's pretty much secure. But they're saying no because we're getting 30 million hits a day on our cloud, and saying now that affects your security, so we're going to put in something that makes you actually hook up to our server, which is getting 30 million hits a day. You're actually opening up yourself to more risk than companies like Prusa or Creality at the current time. Now that could change. I don't think Prusa will change, but I think Creality might. I don't know. They have their cloud thing going on, but it's not as overreaching as Bambu. And again, other people can use third-party slicers and so on and so forth. And I don't see any problems with that right now. So, and which is good, But I think what is going to happen is that Bambu is going to dethrone themselves with this. And I think they're going to bank on so many ignorant people not knowing about this information that they're going to choose to update the firmware, and you're going to have no choice whatsoever. And then eventually down the road, their plan, I bet you, is going to have subscription fees because you can only sell so many machines. And the writing on the wall has been, it's been there for quite some time. And I think now this isn't a last minute thing. This has been a highly planned and focused, labor intensive type of thing that they're doing. And you wouldn't do that unless you were going to make more money, save money and make money. So when them saying, well, we don't, these 30 million unauthorized pings or unauthorized access to our cloud servers, we want to minimize that, but we're going to include every single printer that has been made that has the firmware upgrade, which is now even more access to that cloud and their servers and so on and so forth. Yeah, that doesn't make sense either. And one guy I was chatting with, in the last video I made, a guy got in contact with me and we chatted, and he liked the analogy of the toaster. It really made sense to him. And so this will be the last thing I talk about. In a toaster, let's say you have a toaster and you buy the toaster because it can do, everything from light toast to dark toast, black, whatever it is. You can put numbers and letters. You just want it to toast the things that you put in the toaster. And it's great. You love it. But as advancements go on, now you can do lettering. Now you can do this and that. You can toast one side hotter than the other, or this one is softer than the other side, so that you can, the grilled cheese sandwiches and just to die for. But then the company comes along and says, well, because of the safety and security, we're going to have you connect up to the internet and to the cloud to enhance your toasting capabilities. And it's like, I didn't know I needed that. Oh, yes. There are hackers out there that want to hack, and you're exposed to these toast hackers. And so you need us to connect up to our cloud system. And it's, well, wait a second. I have my toaster hooked up to my home access system, and I've never been hacked, and I haven't seen anybody get their toaster hacked. So I'm not sure where you're going. You don't know what you're talking about because we have the safety and your safety and security in mind. But that's, you're going to have to do the firmware upgrade. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then it's like, I go to my toaster one day and I put in a bagel, and then I get this thing on my phone, it's ding, and it's like unauthorized material. It's not unauthorized. I sliced a bagel and I put it in the, oh no, we don't recognize third-party bagels. I want a toasted bagel. No, you can't do that. But we have a subscription fee that will allow you to toast third-party bagels. So yeah, just a small little fee, just small, maybe $1 a month, 50 cents, maybe. But if you want the full experience and the full security, knowing that your toast is safe and secure, you can go for the $7.99 or the $10 subscription fee to make sure that your toaster is getting the firmware upgrades that it needs, that you're safe and secure. Even see where I'm going with this? And we've seen this before. I mean, what is it? BMW ended up saying that, you buy a BMW, but you have to buy a subscription service to keep a certain heater element on for the heated steering wheel or whatever it was. It's just absolutely insane. It's like, what? I'm paying for a thing that I bought and you're not allowing me to use it unless I pay you a fee. Then that means I didn't really buy this. It's leased. So in other words, what Bambu Labs is doing is changing the definitions of something that you bought, and they still maintain control over it and it's under the guise of safety and security. So it's not really yours. You don't really have control over the thing that you bought. It's like, I bought a car, but then the car pops up and online says, nope, this is an unauthorized neighborhood. You can't drive in this area. Or nope, you can't drive faster than the speed limit, even though it's an emergency. Oh, we're not going to open the doors of your Tesla, even though your Tesla's on fire and you burned to death. I don't know why Tesla is still in business. There are so many cases of that. Now I'm ranting. You got me pissed off. And I haven't even finished my latte. But you see what I'm getting at. You got to have subscription services. And it's getting to the point of where it's so common. And remember the case of the guy, since we're talking about Tesla, the guy that turned in his Tesla to get repaired, and there was a monthly fee that he had to pay, and he turned in his Tesla to get fixed, and had to be in the shop for a long, long period of time. And that monthly subscription fee pops up, and he's like, it's in the shop. Why should I have to pay the monthly subscription fee when I don't even have access to my vehicle because Tesla is fixing it because of a problem that they had? It's not my problem. It's their problem, and they're fixing it. And that guy there is actually on social media and videos and stuff, and he's like, yeah, I called them, and it's like, no, we can't do anything. I don't have access. You should have known. You should have canceled that before you turned in the vehicle, because now for some weird thing in the small print, he couldn't undo the subscription. They wouldn't refund him the money even though they had the vehicle. That's what all of this is heading towards, is subscription fees. And if you can corral everybody into this ecosystem, and then you can start implementing subscription fees, all under the guise of security or for a better enhanced user experience. If you take away the capabilities and the features that you advertise the product for, because you don't pay a subscription fee, and or you don't want people selling your information, you're changing the definitions of what the word bought means. So the product that you bought, you didn't really buy because it's still under the control of a company, which is using your information and under the false pretenses of your security. It's just absolutely crazy. So even though, I'm not a programmer, I didn't do any of that stuff, but it's just, and other people are way smarter than me. There's a lot of them out there, Lord knows. The smart people are talking about how this is absolutely crazy and that this is a power grab. And it doesn't stop with just your safety and security. They're doing this because of money. This isn't just like Bambu Labs is like, ding, hey, let's do Bambu Connect. Ding, and flip a switch and it's done. There are countless, hundreds of thousands of hours of developing the software, implementing it, running it, testing it, the whole 9 yards, paying developers, paying testers, getting through the regulatory systems that anything that goes online in the United States or other countries needs to meet certain specifications or requirements. That all costs a buttload of money. So this isn't a last minute, and it's definitely not for your safety and security because they're opening you up to more risk. There's a bigger fish to fry down the road when it comes to Bambu Labs and companies that do this. And that's just a sad fact of what it is. And that's why people are mad. And Bambu Labs is dethroning themselves. But I think that they think that there's such a huge juggernaut within the 3D printing community that it'll be a bump in the road, but it doesn't matter because people are so used to paying subscription fees and they don't care about their information being sold. They want their TikTok, they want this or that. When they download an app, they just, do you agree to the terms and conditions? Nobody reads those things. They just want to pay their money and do their little dances and have access to all the keystrokes on my phone and video feeds and whatever, blah, 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 blah. They don't care. But that information is being sold and somebody is making money off it as you're playing some Tetris game or Blocks or Connect or, whatever it is. You're paying that monthly fee. They're getting money off of that and they're selling your information. I bet you that's what Bambu's doing. They're making money. They're not doing this out of some altruistic, sense of we must take care of the common folk and provide for their safety and security because the peasants just don't know. No, they're not doing it out of the goodness of their heart. It's money. Down 100%. It's the bottom line. It's that greenback. It's making money hand over fist. And they're getting to a point of where the next few steps down the road, you're not going to have a choice and there's going to be subscription fees. I bet. It's just a matter of time. It's not if they're going to do it, it's when they're going to do it. So, yeah. And where does that leave people like me? The retired guy that just needs, I quit work, thank God, retired early, and I'm here in Korea, and I just need stuff to keep my mind occupied so I don't go crazy. I get into resin printing, get into hobby, painting miniatures, and now I want to do into FDM printing because it's so user-friendly and it's like a home appliance. Pull it out of the box, 10 minutes later, I'm printing shit. That's what I want to do because that's what guys do most of the time, and a lot of women too. But I don't want to do it at the expense of my information. I don't want to be locked into a system and lied to, saying, well, it's because of safety and security. That just really gets up my nose. So, yeah. And for you out there, what do you think about this whole debacle, this whole fiasco? Do you think Bambu is too big to fail no matter what they do? I think that this will be a little hiccup in the road. It'll be like a speed bump. But in a year or two, it'll be a thing of the past. It is a planned obsolescence of machines, which is, they come out with new machines. Companies come out with new machines, but there's only so many machines you can do. But where they're really going to make the money, and I imagine this is a business plan. I imagine when they started out, they were like, you know what? We're going to make this machine, and yeah, we're concerned about 3D printing. We want to make a good product. But they had an end goal in mind. And that's to make a buttload of money. Because everybody makes machines. Everybody comes out with a new machine every year. But the way to make the money is through subscriptions. And if you can have an ecosystem that pushes everybody else out but you and your kin and start saying, hey, well, it's a small subscription fee. User fees like $1.50 a month or whatever. $10 a month. Print farm, whatever, up to 10 printers, maybe that's $14.99. Print farms over 20, we'll get into more commercial programs that they're going to be developing. That's going to be, $75, $100 a month, maybe more for those print farms that have their machines. And people are going to be locked into it because of the ease of use. And people are going to give up their say under the guise of safety and security, and they'll say, well, yeah, it's worth $100 because I'm making six figures a year, or close to it or more than that. So I'll pay $100 or $200 a month. There are systems and programs and software packages that profitable businesses use that they spend $200, $300, $400, $500 a month as a normal expense. That's where they're going. They're taking the commercialization on those business products and bringing it down to the user level and just making the prices smaller. And if you have somebody that's into 3D printing and you're in that ecosystem and I'm probably going to be doing this stuff for the next 10 years. Now you can extrapolate and plan and see how much money that you can make is a hell of a lot more than if you didn't have a subscription service. So yeah, it's all about money, and that's what we're going to end up seeing. So one, tell me what you think. Do you think this is going to lead to subscription? What are the pros of what Bambu Labs is doing? Do you see them being dethroned? What systems? I know we've gone over a ton of information. I've been rambling on for an hour and a half now. But what machines are you looking at? Those are the ones that I was looking at. And if you have any others that are, quality, that QD4 Plus looks pretty good, and that's only $800. I kind of want to go big or go home, have all the bells and whistles that I can get, and even some things that I don't want, that later on down the road I might, probably won't use them, but I might, buy once, cry once. What do you have? What are you looking at? Has this whole Bambu debacle changed your mind as for buying a Bambu product? I know for me it did. And it's sad, and then you got people, I could ramble on. But anyway, put that in the comment section down below. Tell me what you think, and we'll go over those and see how it goes. If you got tips, suggestions, machines that you're looking at, links, put them in the comments. I would love to see them because I want to buy once, cry once. And more I'm leaning towards the Creality K2 Plus, Prusa, and maybe even the QD4 Plus. That's kind of the first one. But again, we have those pay levels on how much that is going to cost. And the Prusa XL, $2,000. It's but again, it's expensive, but they're workhorses and they last a long time and they work and they don't sell your information. They're not doing what Bambu is doing. So that wasn't a concern for me before, but now it is. So tell me what you think. Last thing, subscribe to the channel. I would appreciate that. The Buried Life, retired hobby technician, expat here in Korea, just kind of wandering through and doing resin printing, 3D printing eventually, laser engraving, stuff like that. If you like any of that, please like and subscribe. And if you got anything more out of that, you could buy me a coffee. There's a link in the description box. And these people are the people that have bought me drinks, coffees, which is really good. They're awesome people, so you could end up on that list as well. Business inquiries, got the email address down there. And even if it's not a business inquiry, you can send me an email. I have successfully answered everyone who has ever emailed me, even the crazy people, which I've gotten a couple, but most good people like yourselves, I answer. And I've gotten a lot of questions on how I retired and overseas here in Korea. So if you're kind of interested in that, I've got videos on that as well. So that's it. Good Lord. What a day. So that's what we got going on. Yeah, have a good one. I don't know, stay sane, stay safe, question everything, and realize that some companies don't have your best interests in mind. Some do, some don't. So we'll just leave it at that. And we will see you on the next video. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And it's time to go. Peace. Crazy.